The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr and Schwartz. Meet Roger. At 42, he seemed to have it all figured out. Six-figure salary at a major software company, vice president title, his fourth promotion in just 6 years. He had a college sweetheart wife, 2 great kids, and a gorgeous house they'd custom designed in the perfect sunny suburb. From the outside looking in, Roger was crushing it. But here's the thing about surfaces, they hide what's really going on underneath. Roger's boss, the same guy who'd once called him a rising star, was now seriously worried. Roger's performance had tanked. He'd gone from being their top player to barely scraping by. He was moody, couldn't focus, and that special something that made him stand out? Gone. His boss pulled the authors aside and said, if something doesn't change soon, he's not going to make it. So what went wrong? How does someone go from rising star to almost fired? Here's the kicker. Roger was doing exactly what we're all told to do. He was managing his time like a pro. Day planner? Check. To-do lists? Check. BlackBerry buzzing with reminders? Double check. He was putting in serious hours, cramming more and more into every single day. But he was learning something the hard way, something most of us are still figuring out. You can be a time management ninja and still end up feeling completely wiped out, scattered, and disconnected from what actually matters. Today we're diving into a book that completely flips the script on productivity, performance, and what it means to live a meaningful life. It's called The Power of Full Engagement, and it comes from 2 absolute experts, Jim Loehr and Schwartz. These guys spent decades working with people who perform at the absolute highest level. We're talking world-class athletes like tennis legend Pete Sampras, Olympic champions, even FBI hostage rescue teams, and they discovered something fascinating. The secret isn't managing your time. Time is fixed. You've got 24 hours in a day, period. No amount of productivity hacks will give you more. The real game changer for high performance and a passionate life, managing your energy. Because here's the beautiful part. Unlike time, energy is something you can actually expand and renew. By the time we're done today, you're going to understand the 4 hidden sources of energy that power everything you do. You'll learn why living like a sprinter instead of a marathoner is the key to dodging burnout. And you'll discover how simple rituals can completely transform your days, your work, and your relationships. This isn't just about getting more done. It's about being more present, more alive, more fully engaged with your life. Let's kick things off with a question that hits home. Have you ever had one of those days where you're insanely busy, checking things off left and right, but when you finally collapse at the end of the day, you realize you didn't accomplish anything that really mattered? Or maybe you finally sit down with your family after a brutal day, but your mind is still stuck at the office, and you're too wiped out to actually connect with the people right in front of you. This is the trap we're all caught in. The authors call it living in digital time. Our lives have become this non-stop barrage of demands coming at us from all directions. We're constantly connected, but we're burning out fast. We think the answer is becoming better time managers, cramming even more into every waking moment. But Loehr and Schwartz say this is like trying to navigate the ocean by worrying about the size of your boat instead of learning to read the winds and currents. The real currency of high performance isn't time, it's energy. Think about it for a second. You could block out 4 solid hours for an important project, but if you sit down feeling exhausted, irritable, and scattered, how much will you actually accomplish? Now flip it. Imagine you only have 1 hour, but you come to it feeling energized, positive, and laser-focused. That single hour could blow those previous 4 out of the water. This one shift changes everything. The goal isn't to build a life that's one long, perfectly scheduled marathon where you just keep grinding until you drop. The goal is to create a life that's a series of powerful sprints. periods of intense, focused engagement, followed by periods of real renewal and recovery. So if energy is what matters, where does it come from? The authors reveal that we're all powered by 4 separate but deeply connected energy sources. Think of it like a high-performance engine with 4 cylinders. To be fully engaged, all 4 need to be firing on all cylinders. First up is physical energy. This is your foundation, the raw fuel in your tank. And it's not just for athletes. This matters for everyone. Your physical energy determines how much total energy you have available. It's shaped by your sleep, what you eat, how you breathe, and whether you move your body. When your physical energy is running on empty, maybe because you skipped breakfast or only got 5 hours of sleep, everything else suffers. You get cranky easier, you can't focus, and your motivation disappears. Remember Roger, our struggling executive? He was surviving on too little sleep, running on coffee and sugary muffins, and had completely given up on exercise. His physical energy was completely depleted, and that was sabotaging everything else. He was trying to live a high-performance life on terrible fuel. It just doesn't work that way. The second source is emotional energy. If physical energy is about how much you have, emotional energy is about the quality of what you bring to each moment. It's about the feelings you carry through your day. The authors use this really helpful visual they call the energy quadrant. Picture a graph. The up and down axis goes from low energy to high energy. The left to right axis goes from negative, unpleasant energy to positive, pleasant energy. This creates 4 different zones. Low and negative, that's the burnout zone. You feel exhausted, hopeless, completely defeated. High and negative, that's the survival zone. You're angry, anxious, fearful. This kind of energy can get you through a crisis, but it's toxic and burns you out fast. It's like flooring the gas pedal while your emergency brake is still on. Low and positive? That's the recovery zone. You're relaxed, mellow, peaceful. It feels nice, but it's not where performance happens. High and positive? That's the performance sweet spot. This is where you're fully engaged. You feel energized, confident, challenged in a good way, and genuinely joyful. The goal with emotional management is spending as much time as possible in that high positive zone. Negative emotions like fear and frustration are incredibly expensive. They drain your energy reserves at an alarming rate. Positive emotions, though, they're actually the most efficient fuel for performance. They help you renew and expand your energy at the same time. The third source is mental energy. This is about where you direct your energy. It's your ability to concentrate, to think creatively, and to maintain what the authors call realistic optimism. And no, realistic optimism isn't about pretending problems don't exist or slapping on a fake smile. It's about seeing the world as it really is, but always working toward solutions with a positive mindset. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, our mental energy is under constant attack. Roger was living from one email to the next, bouncing from crisis to crisis. He was constantly multitasking, which we love to brag about, but it's really just a fancy way of doing a bunch of things poorly at the same time. Real mental performance requires the ability to focus intensely on one thing, and then to completely disengage and let your mind rest. Here's something interesting. The biggest creative breakthroughs often don't happen when we're grinding away at a problem. They happen when we step away from it. When we take a walk, jump in the shower, or just let our minds wander, we give the more intuitive, creative part of our brain a chance to work its magic. This is why taking strategic breaks isn't slacking off. It's an essential part of doing your best thinking. Finally, and this is the most important one, there's spiritual energy, and before you think this is getting all religious, hold on. Spiritual energy is about the force or purpose behind everything you do. It's your why. It's your connection to your deepest values, to a purpose that goes beyond just yourself. Spiritual energy is what keeps you going when things get really tough. It's the ultimate source of passion, sticking with it when it's hard, and real commitment. Roger had completely lost touch with this energy. He was so busy reacting to everything coming at him that he'd stopped asking himself what truly mattered. He said he valued his family, but his actions told a different story. He valued doing excellent work, but his performance had become mediocre. This gap between what he said mattered and how he actually lived was draining his spirit and, by extension, everything else. So you've got these 4 energy sources. The next big question is how you actually manage them. And here's where it gets really interesting. The key is something borrowed from elite athletes. It's called oscillation. Life has a natural rhythm to it. Ocean tides go in and out. Seasons change. We sleep and wake up. Our bodies are designed for this pulse, this wave-like movement between spending energy and recovering energy. The authors call this oscillation. The opposite is linearity, when you just keep going and going without ever stopping. Linearity leads straight to burnout, breakdown, and eventually a flat line. Think about the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. Long-distance runners often look depleted, worn down, gaunt. Sprinters look powerful, explosive, bursting with energy. Why? Because a sprinter gives everything they've got for a short, defined burst, knowing the finish line and recovery are just ahead. Most of us are living like marathoners, trying to conserve energy, never fully engaging, slowly wearing ourselves down to nothing. The secret is living like a sprinter. Fully engage in focused bursts throughout your day, and between each one, fully disengage and recover. This works for everything. You might work intensely for 90 minutes, then take a real 15-minute break where you walk outside or listen to music. You might spend an hour being completely present with your kids, then take 10 minutes for yourself to breathe and recharge. This rhythm of stress and recovery is what powers high performance. Now here's where things get really interesting. What if the demands on you are so huge that even with perfect recovery, you still don't have enough energy? How do you actually increase your capacity? The answer is kind of a paradox. To build capacity, you have to push beyond your normal limits. Stress isn't the enemy. Stress is actually the key to growth. Think about building muscle. To make your biceps stronger, you have to lift a weight that pushes it beyond what it's used to. This actually creates tiny tears in the muscle fibers. It's uncomfortable. For a short time, your muscle is actually weaker than before, but then you let it recover. And when it recovers, it doesn't just heal back to where it was. It grows back stronger, with more capacity to handle the next challenge. This is called supercompensation. Here's the brilliant insight. This principle doesn't just apply to your physical muscles. It applies to your emotional, mental, and spiritual muscles too. Want to build your emotional muscle of patience? You have to intentionally put yourself in situations that test your patience, push through the discomfort, and then recover. Want to build your mental muscle of focus? You have to train your concentration like you'd train at the gym, pushing it for longer stretches, then giving it a break. Want to build your spiritual muscle of courage? You have to face your fears, act in line with your values even when it's scary, and then reflect and renew. We grow in all areas of life by systematically exposing ourselves to stress, followed by proper recovery. We naturally want to avoid discomfort, but discomfort is actually the price of admission for growth. So we've got the principles down. Manage your 4 energy sources, live like a sprinter through oscillation, and use stress to build capacity. But how do you actually make this happen in real life? Most of us have tried changing our habits and crashed and burned. We make New Year's resolutions, rely on willpower and discipline, but after a few weeks we're right back where we started. Why does this keep happening? Because willpower and discipline are limited resources. The authors point to research showing that every time you use self-control, whether it's saying no to a cookie, forcing yourself to focus, or staying calm in traffic, you're drawing from the same limited tank of willpower. By the end of the day, that tank is often completely empty, which is why we're most likely to blow our diets or snap at someone in the evening. The solution isn't more willpower. The solution is creating positive energy rituals. A ritual is a behavior you consciously design and then practice until it becomes automatic. Unlike willpower, which requires you to push yourself, a ritual pulls you. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need discipline to do it. It's automatic, fueled by the value you place on being healthy and not having gross breath. You probably feel weird if you skip it. The power of rituals is that they take behaviors that are crucial for managing your energy and put them on autopilot, saving your precious willpower for the moments you really need it. The book is packed with amazing examples. There's a CEO who schedules non-negotiable 15-minute breaks every 90 minutes and finds his meetings become shorter and way more productive. There's an executive who transformed her stressful travel time by making flights the only time she lets herself read books purely for pleasure, turning something draining into something that renews her. Building a ritual requires being super specific. It's not enough to say, I'm going to exercise more. A ritual is, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 in the morning, I will go for a 20-minute interval run in my neighborhood. By defining the what, when, and where, you remove the need to make a decision in the moment. This brings us to the final piece. The authors have a 3-step process for making lasting change. They call it purpose, truth, action. Step 1 is define purpose. This is the top-down part of change. Before you can change your habits, you need a powerful, compelling reason why. This goes back to your spiritual energy. You have to connect with your deepest values and create a clear vision for the person you want to become. This purpose becomes the fuel for change, the force that pulls you through the hard parts. For Roger, this was the turning point. When asked what lessons he'd want to pass on to his kids, he talked about family, hard work, and kindness. He realized with a jolt that his current life was betraying those very values. That realization gave him the motivation he desperately needed. Step 2 is face the truth. Once you know where you want to go, you have to get brutally honest about where you are right now. This means looking at the gap between the values you hold and how you actually live your life. It involves gathering real data, tracking your sleep, your diet, your moods, and getting honest feedback from others to see how you're really managing your energy. It's about clearing away the excuses and self-deception and confronting the real consequences of your current behaviors. Step 3 is take action. This is where you build the positive rituals to close the gap between your purpose and your reality. You don't try to change everything at once. You start small, with 1 or 2 key rituals that will have the biggest impact. You build them one at a time, until they become second nature. This is exactly what Roger did. He started with one simple ritual, working out 3 times a week during his lunch hour. That one change started a chain reaction. He had more physical energy, which made him feel more positive. He started eating better lunches. Because he was leaving the office for workouts, he had to be more focused and efficient with his time. Then he added another ritual, leaving work by 6:30 no matter what, and creating a transition routine in his car to shift his focus from work mode to family mode. He began experiencing his family not as just another demand on his time, but as a powerful source of emotional renewal. Over several months, he built a web of connected positive rituals that reignited his energy in all 4 dimensions. His performance at work took off. His sales team saw a 40% increase in revenue. But even more importantly, he reconnected with his wife, his children, and himself. He went from being disengaged and on the verge of getting fired to being fully engaged, passionate, and living a life aligned with what mattered most to him. His story is powerful proof that it's never too late to change, and that by managing your energy instead of your time, you can truly unlock your full potential. As we wrap up our journey through the power of full engagement, I want to reflect on why this book feels more relevant today than ever. When Loehr and Schwartz wrote this, the world of BlackBerries and constant email was just starting. Now we live in a world where the line between work and life has basically vanished. Our phones are always within arm's reach, and the demands on our energy feel endless. The central message of this book, that energy, not time, is our most precious resource, is both profound and liberating. It gives us permission to stop the insanity of trying to do more in less time, and instead focus on doing our best work and living our best lives with the energy we have, while showing us how to expand it. The idea that we should live like sprinters, with intense focus followed by real recovery, is honestly a radical act of self-care in a culture that treats burnout like a badge of honor. What I find most powerful is the deep humanity at the core of this framework. It's not just about productivity tricks. It's about aligning your daily actions with your deepest values. The authors remind us that the why behind what we do, our spiritual energy, is the ultimate driver of a fulfilling life. Without a strong sense of purpose, all the energy management techniques in the world are just shuffling deck chairs. But when you connect your daily rituals to a mission that truly matters to you, they stop being chores and become acts of devotion to the life you want to live. If you're feeling overwhelmed, scattered, or just plain exhausted, I want to encourage you to start with one simple action inspired by this book. For the next week, try this experiment. Schedule one 90-minute sprint into your day. Pick your most important task. Turn off all distractions, your phone, email, everything, and give it your absolute, undivided attention for 90 minutes. Then, when time's up, stop. And for the next 15 minutes, do something that truly renews you. Go for a walk outside without your phone. Listen to a few of your favorite songs. Stretch. Do nothing. The key is to fully disengage. Just try that once a day for a week and see how it affects not just your productivity, but the quality of your energy for the rest of the day. That was a summary of The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz. We've definitely hit the big ideas today, but I have to be honest with you. A summary is like looking at pictures of the Grand Canyon online. It can show you the views and tell you the facts, but it can never replace the awe you feel when you're actually standing on the edge experiencing it yourself. The real magic of this book is in the stories, the detailed examples, and the personal development plan that guides you step by step. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I truly hope you'll pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's a practical guide that can genuinely change the rhythm of your daily life. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small click for you, but it means the world to us, and make sure you won't miss our next dive into another life-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.